Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be discussing and doing a spoiler-free review for Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This is quite a popular high fantasy novel featuring a female-female romance that I believe debuted in late 2016. It follows two princesses, our main princess being Denna, who has been betrothed her entire life to this prince to connect their two kingdoms. At the beginning of our novel, we actually followed Denna traveling to her new kingdom to prepare for her wedding. She is attempting to integrate herself into society, all the while keeping a deadly secret in which she has an affinity for magic, and in this new kingdom, magic is hated. A whole bunch of political things happen, and she finds herself growing closer and closer with the prince's sister, which is a huge issue. As I was saying, Of Fire and Stars is an own voices female-female romance set in a non-contemporary world. And when I heard that, I was sold. Female-female romances in general aren't really a priority in publishing, it seems, and to find any in fantasy is incredibly difficult. I was really looking forward to this. However, I heard some mixed reviews on the actual plot of the story, so I kind of went in a bit hesitant, and I find myself quite in the middle in terms of the reviews that I've seen. I'm quite conflicted, so hopefully this review isn't rambly of any sorts, but I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I disliked. Honestly, the only thing I actually liked about the world building was the fact that there was a world in which there was no homophobia. There were relationships among high, nobility that were same-sex relationships, and it was so refreshing and lovely to see. There's no world building at all. We get the barest amount of histories between the four major kingdoms in the surrounding area, and basically the smallest description to help place these kingdoms and how they differ. One likes magic, one is kind of okay with magic, one hates it, and then one's an up and coming that's made no comment. It wasn't sufficient, especially seeing as magic and Denna's magic was such an integral plot point. With this being pitched as such a political kingdom type story, you would think that there would be a lot more, I don't know, maybe politics. Now with the characters, I can say I like them a lot more. However, in the beginning they did seem a little bit flat. Our two princesses seemed defined at the beginning by only one characteristic. Denna was the dutiful princess, and Mare was the princess who was basically an anarchist and hated politics and just wanted to train horses. Once our princesses start breaking their mold, however, and they start changing and growing closer, is when I really started to like their relationship and the characters themselves. I particularly liked Denna and her very difficult struggle between her duty versus her heart and her wants, and I really enjoyed her internal conflict. I think the rest of the characters could have used a lot more developing, and also the fact that all of our adult characters were big fumfering idiots kind of became a little bit grating. That, I will admit, is my own personal pet peeve. I don't like when everyone is an idiot except for our two characters that we're supposed to be rooting for. It just seems lazy, and it could be done a lot better. I found the plot to be a wee bit generic, but not in a unenjoyable way. And to be honest, I think we spent an incredibly long amount of time. And to be honest, I think we spent an incredibly long amount of time discussing horses and learning to ride horses, and oh my god, all the horses. If you like horses, you'll like this book, but don't care. So those stretches really bored me, and I understand that it was supposed to show the two girls bonding, but it was just too much about the literal horses. I enjoyed the aspect of the mystery and what was going on. I really wanted more stuff explored with Denna's magic, which was a bummer. I think about halfway through, though, I did catch on and figure out a lot of the reveals, But again, I had fun with it, and I cared so much about these two women who were falling in love with each other that even though I expected these twists, my heart was like aching. Speaking of the climax, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was terribly exciting and really, really like heart pumping. Oh my god. And that was when I found myself flying through the rest of the book. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I wanted to make sure that these characters I loved made it through, and I really enjoyed that stretch of the book. That last like maybe 15% of the book I thought was very, very engaging, and if it had been like that the whole time, I think I would have utterly loved it. I think it leaves off in a very interesting place, and I know when this first came out it was billed as a standalone, and I don't know how anyone could have ever read this thinking that it was a standalone. There was so much that was unresolved and so much that needs to be filled in that I think I definitely would have been a lot more unsatisfied if this had also been the conclusion. So luckily, I think that the world is going to be expanded and explored a lot more, and I think questions revolving magic will be explored a lot more in the sequel, which I'm actually quite looking forward to. I think a lot of my issues actually stem from the writing, and the writing just not being quite up to snuff. Which sounds bad, but the world building was very lacking. Our characters and the prose itself seemed juvenile at times. I frankly think that the writing and this story would have been incredibly well suited towards a middle grade. Yeah, so as you can tell, I have a lot of conflicting thoughts toward this book. I by no means think it's bad. I've seen some reviews like ripping this story to shreds, which I think is wholly unnecessary. I enjoyed this. I weirdly enjoyed the predictability of it, and these two characters and their relationship is really what sold me on this story and made me just enjoy it. I know I had a lot of complaints, which sounds bad, but I did enjoy the story. I got through it pretty quickly. I would say if you're interested in reading this, go for it. When you're going into it, remember that if you're expecting a really good fantasy, you may be not getting what you want, but if you go into it wanting a lovely young adult FF romance, I think you will very much enjoy it. So my very conflicted thoughts are reflected in my incredibly conflicted rating. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. There was some really good with it, along with some not so good. I would like to know if you've read this story, what your thoughts were, and honestly, if you haven't read it, do you plan on picking this one up? This one seems to leave a lot of people pretty split. This one was a bit of a thinker and a head scratcher, and to be honest, I attempted filming this twice before, and I really hated the way it came out just because of how conflicted I was feeling. I think that's it for me today. I hope this review wasn't too long. As always, thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!